Hi everybody, just a quick warning, there's a brief part of this story that is racist. A couple weeks ago, I uploaded a video about me being a male feminist. And in the video, I talked about how I wasn't going to go to my friend Chris and Megan's wedding because of something that had happened. I ended up going anyway because I wanted to support them. I've known Chris my entire life. I'm not really a vindictive guy. I don't like to hold grudges. And so I buried the hatchet and that made me happy. Unfortunately, I think that they would have been a lot happier if I hadn't gone, and so would everybody else who was there. But I had fun. I think that that's kind of the problem, is that I got a little too comfortable, and I had really been throwing them back that day, so I was sort of acting very recklessly and impulsively. So this story really starts, that was supposed to be me drinking something, by the way, out of a cup. The story really starts about 20 years ago. My grandfather's house. I'm a kid. My grandmother has just died. The same grandmother that I referenced in my last video. And when she died, she left my grandfather pretty much completely mentally and physically incapable of taking care of himself. So we had to move him into a nursing home. My grandfather had a huge, long, dark closet that he used to keep board games in, and other stuff that me and the cousins could play with as kids. So it was also a little scary because it was dark and old, so we thought it was haunted. It was like the haunted fun closet, So we were in there kind of going like, ooh, playing around, and we found this very odd spherical object that I said looked like a grenade because I played a lot of Call of Duty and it reminded me of the grenades that were in Call of Duty. And of course my cousins were like, no, it's not. So we showed my aunts and uncles, and they said the same thing that I did. It looks like a grenade. Now, what I want to make very clear, we were not in any way a grenade family. We didn't grow up around this kind of stuff. We didn't grow up around heavy artillery of any kind, really. So we weren't aware of all the safety protocols and, all that stuff, because I think most people go most of their lives without ever being in the same room as a bomb, if you're lucky. But that just wasn't something that, the idea that this could actually hurt anyone was not on anybody's radar. And if you ask me, it was disrespectful of my grandfather to keep it in the house, without telling us what it was. We tried to ask him about it, and he was just like, so he was no help. But at the same time, we were pretty sure that it was his because it had a very offensive message etched on the side that made it very clear what group of people he was fighting against in that war and what he wanted to do to them. And it was something that he had said a lot around the house anyway, so we were like, yeah, it's his. So my parents, because I was the one who was sort of the most interested in it, my parents let me keep it. Well, they kept it in the garage, and they would allow me to look at it as long as they were supervising me. But again, I think that was because they just didn't want me to drop it on the floor and break their floor. It was very heavy. So I don't think even that was because they thought it was dangerous in the way that it became. So now enter Chris. Can you be more considerate of people who are, I'm trying to make a video and it's very clear that that's what I'm doing. And these people drive by with their stupid music and they ruin my video and they distract me and I can't remember what I was trying to say. My friend Chris, we had been friends for most of my childhood, and he used to come over, and we would, he used to come over. And one night we were in the garage, and he found the grenade. And so he was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, and playing with it and everything and all that. And I was like, oh, be careful, my parents are going to get mad, And we came up with a game called Terrorist, where we would throw the grenade and we would shout something that was kind of a joke at the time, because in American culture, 9/11 had just happened. We were in the middle of the Iraq War at that time, the 2000s. So there was a lot of feverish Islamophobia. And so that was very pervasive. And I'm not saying that makes it okay, but we were just parroting what we had seen adults and society around us do at that point. So we used to, throw the grenade in class, and we would shout the thing, and all the kids would laugh, and it was fun. I don't know. Everybody thought it was funny. It's not. I now know that it is not on multiple levels. Anyway, time passed. The years went by, and about 2 weeks ago, I made the decision to go to Chris's wedding, and I was like, oh, that's really nice. I'm so happy. But then that led to another problem where I didn't know what to get them, because what do you get somebody who you've known your entire life? It had to be something that he would like now, but also that did justice to our friendship and the past and all that. So I was like, and I was walking around my parents' house, and I went into the garage, and I saw that grenade that I hadn't thought about in years. And I was like, bing! That's perfect. So I asked my parents if I could take it, and they said, yeah, please, get this clutter out of the house. So my original idea was that I was going to put it in a happy birthday bag with tissue paper, and then take the bag and give it to him and then have him open it. But then, the day of the wedding, I came up with, I guess you could call it a bit, where it was a very beautiful wedding. They were in a big cathedral, and I saw, everything was amazing. It was kind of boring, honestly, because I sort of get, every time I go to a wedding, the bride's walking down the altar, and I'm like, come on, let's go. So anyway, they were saying their vows, and the priest was saying, what does he say when they say, do you take so-and-so to be your lawfully wedded whatever? And they both said, I do. And he said, you may kiss the bride. And I thought it would be funny to throw the grenade and shout, Allahu Akbar. And, throw it at Chris and Megan. And in my head, the way that it was going to go was that Chris would think it was funny because it was, something that it was a childhood joke that we had, an inside joke. I guess I don't know. Now that I think, pretty much as soon as I did it, I was in the middle of screaming it, and I just saw the looks on everybody's faces, and I was immediately like, this was a mistake. But it's too late now. I was already mid-throw. So I threw it as hard as I could at the altar. And it sort of went ding, 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 landed on the floor. And bang! Then all of a sudden there was a huge explosion. The smoke went everywhere. There was shrapnel that flew everywhere. I was like, oh my God. People were screaming. They were like, ah! And at first, I thought that there was another terrorist attack that had happened at the exact same time. That's how little I ever thought that grenade could ever explode. And then I kind of put two and two together, and I was like, oh crap. I had pulled the pin when I threw it that time. It had been so long, I had forgotten how we used to do it. I had forgot that when we were kids, we never actually pulled the pin on the grenade. So when I threw it, I guess it must have been a live grenade. And my first thought was, screw you, Grandpa, for keeping a live grenade in your house, you racist prick. my second thought was, I got to get the hell out of here ASAP, because this looks very, 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 very bad for me. So the next thing everybody was like, ah, and it was smoky and nobody could see anything. But I was next to two ladies. One was old and one was normal. And so I made sure that they saw me, and I said, "What the hell was that?" And I tried to look really confused so that they would not think that I did it, right? And then I scurried out of there. So this was about a half hour ago. And I think the biggest thing that I want to say is that I'm very sorry for my behavior, because it was very problematic on many levels. Islam is a beautiful religion. I've actually been thinking about converting to Islam recently, so, watch out. But my sort of very stereotypical, offensive outlook on that thing that I thought would make the joke funny was not in any way. And I think the other big thing is that I have learned, this experience has kind of taught me that I don't always need to center myself, I think that if I had been comfortable, really what happened was that I was uncomfortable on a subconscious level, not being the center of attention. And so I wanted to do something that would make me the center of attention again. And that was wrong. I should have just let Chris and Megan have the spotlight for once, So I hope that this can be a learning experience for all of you, so that you don't do something similar. Just be careful what you say. Be careful what you do. And I am so sorry to Chris and Megan, obviously, and the 20 people, I think, that were injured. But yeah, I mean, it was a nice ceremony. It was a nice cathedral. So